Welcome to Afghan News with Mohsen Jamal. A top U.S. general on Thursday said Taliban leader Mullah Omar should be worried after U.S. forces killed Osama bin Laden, predicting the raid would damage the Afghan insurgency's morale. Major General Richard Mills, who recently finished his tour commanding Marines in southern Afghanistan, said the assault on bin Laden's compound in Pakistan demonstrated that we don't leave our missions. Mullah Omar is the one-eyed spiritual leader of the insurgency who presided over the 1996 to 2001 Taliban regime in Kabul, which was toppled in a U.S. invasion for its support of Al-Qaeda. Mills said the death of bin Laden would undermine the morale of the insurgents fighting the Kabul government while giving a tremendous boost to troops in the NATO-led forces. He also said the demise of bin Laden would have a tactical effect in the war, jeopardizing continued financial support to the Taliban from Al-Qaeda militants in neighboring Pakistan. Extensive surveillance of Osama bin Laden's hideout from a nearby CIA safe house in Abbottabad led to his killing in a Navy SEALs operation. U.S. officials said a revelation likely to further embarrass Pakistan's spy agency restrained twice. The U.S. officials, quoted by the Washington Post on Friday, said the safe house was the base for an intelligence gathering operation that began after bin Laden's compound was discovered last August and which was so exhaustive that the CIA asked Congress to reallocate tens of millions of dollars to fund it. U.S. officials told the New York Times that intelligence gathered from computer files and documents seized at his compound showed that bin Laden had for years directly orchestrated Al-Qaeda attacks from the Pakistani town. The fact that bin Laden was found in a garrison town has embarrassed Pakistan, and the covert raid by U.S. commandos that led to his killing has angered its military. On Thursday, the Pakistan Army threatened to hold counter-terrorism cooperation with the United States if it conducted another similar unilateral strike. A major Islamist party in Pakistan, Jamaat-e-Islami, called for mass protests on Friday against what it called a violation of sovereignty by the United States raid. It also urged the government to end support for U.S. battles against militants. Separately, the Pakistani Foreign Secretary Salman Bashir on Thursday gave warning that regional neighbors should not think they can follow America's lead, cautioning the United States and other countries against future raids in the country on suspected fighters, saying that such actions would have disastrous consequences. At least 8 Shiite Muslims have been killed and 10 others wounded after suspected Sunni extremists opened fire on them in the southwestern Pakistani city of Quetta. Police say. Hamish Shakil, a police official, said the victims were in a neighborhood park when they were shot at on Friday. He said the assailants fled after the attack, the first since the killing on Monday by U.S. forces of Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda, in the Pakistani garrison town of Abbottabad. He quoted residents as saying the attackers fired rockets before shooting. Sunni extremists often attack Shiites whom they view as heretics. Meanwhile, Pakistani intelligence officials say an American missile attack close to the Afghan border has killed 8 people. The officials, requesting anonymity, said the attack took place in North Waziristan, an Al-Qaeda and Taliban stronghold. France has expelled 14 Libyan diplomats who served the government of Muammar Gaddafi, giving them 2 days to leave. The foreign ministry made the announcement on Friday, saying it no longer recognized the group's diplomatic status. It accused them of activities incompatible with the relevant UN resolutions and contrary to the protection of Libyan civilians. France was the first foreign power to formally recognize the interim Transitional National Council, the Benghazi-based leadership of opposition forces fighting Gaddafi's rule. This comes as the NATO-backed coalition in Libya Thursday said it will create a fund for rebels fighting the government of Muammar Gaddafi. The Transitional National Council based in Benghazi has appealed for loans of up to $3 billion, saying they need around half of that for food, medicine and other basic supplies. Syrian activists have called for another day of nationwide anti-government protests, and authorities have responded by deploying the military in political sensitive areas. Demonstrations were expected to begin after Friday prayers as activists vote a day of defiance. Tanks have taken up positions in flashpoint cities including Banyas, Homs, Rastan, and in the Damascus suburbs of Erbil, Saqba, Doma, and in the town of Tel, north of the capital, and more than 1,000 people have reportedly been arrested in in the last week. The army announced on Thursday that its forces were pulling out of Daraa, the southern city, which has been under military siege since April 25th. Aid workers from the Red Cross and Red Crescent delivered their first emergency relief supplies to Daraa on Thursday, according to a spokesperson for the organization. Meanwhile, the United States and Italy warned Syria that it will face penalties and increasing isolation if it does not halt violence against demonstrators. Diplomats said the European Union could reach a preliminary agreement on imposing sanctions on Syria's ruling hierarchy on Friday, but had yet to decide whether Bashar al-Assad, the president, should be included. The once massive pro-democracy protests in Bahrain have been reduced to small clashes between U.S. and police in predominantly Shiite Muslim areas. Security forces have launched a crackdown on protesters marked by the beatings and sweeping arrests. Nearly 1,000 demonstrators have been imprisoned, among them doctors, artists and lawyers. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Nevi Pillay, says severe torture is being used against prisoners, and he is calling on the Bahraini government to stop intimidating and harassing human rights defenders and political activists. In the last but not the least, police in Morocco have arrested 3 people in connection to a bomb blast in the city of Marrakesh on April 28th that left at least 16 people killed. The 3 arrested on Thursday were all Moroccan nationals. State media quoted the country's interior ministry as saying the ministry said the chief suspect was well versed in jihadi ideology and shows loyalty to Al-Qaeda, who had previously tried to fight alongside Islamist fighters in Chechnya and Iraq. It said he dressed like a tourist to plant 2 remote detonated devices, which then tore through a cafe overlooking Marrakesh's Juma El Fana Square, a spot that is often packed with tourists. A security official said that the 3 suspects were arrested in the town of Safi, 350 kilometers south of Casablanca. It was the first such attack in Morocco since 2003, when suicide bombings in Casablanca killed at least 45 people. And that's all for now. Thanks for staying with us.